examining what's happening right now with governments eliminating freedoms for allegedly security and health and safety, you could see that troubling times are ahead. Draconian is definitely one word we could use to describe what's happening right now, as of course governments and private corporations are creating a society where they have more control of our every existence, where we go, where and if we can go, while of course track tracing and databasing us like never before in recorded human history.
The rallies were huge though, right around the country. Enormous amount of violence in the Melbourne rally, as expected. The police really escalated things. The police really created as much violence as they could. And they used rubber bullets, they used pepper spray.
Shame on you! He's homeless and you...
There was even a 10-year-old boy who was carrying a sign saying "Let us play," who was covered head to toe in pepper spray by some gutless coward in police uniform. Police are terrorists now, folks, especially the Victorian police. You've got all these gutless cowards out there in body armour and turtle suits and helmets and all this shit.
There's a lot of power given to very few people who have a track record of not caring about the health and wellness of a lot of people. A lot of the very heavy-handed policies that have been put forward allegedly for your health are not just ones that are discriminatory or apartheid-like, but many times counterintuitive to people's personal well-being. How does denying people water or food help them? And that's exactly what's happening in many places around the world, including France, where people are being denied basic human services.
Yep, at home. At home. Otherwise, it'll be lots of Sundays spent in hospital.
They're shooting rubber bullets! There's some crazy stuff that's going on here. The police started... They pulled out some sort of gun with rubber pellets or whatever there is. Empty ammunition. And they were just firing these pellets into the crowd. They started spraying everyone indiscriminately. Media, doesn't matter who it was. Everyone was being sprayed and just... it's just chaos here, and I think it's completely unnecessary chaos because the people have already gathered here. They're already protesting. This is just a show of force, a show of control.
In the United States, people are being denied medical health because they didn't get the government permission slip by doing what the government demanded them to do. Let's be honest, as the mainstream media is criticizing the rule of the Taliban, there is an argument to make that the people of Australia are a lot less free than the people in Afghanistan right now. And from everything we're seeing, the case is pretty solid. As of course, we're getting news that people are being put into mental wards for not believing the government. There's full-on arrest warrants being issued and shared with the general public for individuals that had a positive test as the government tries to track them down and force them into a quarantine camp. A man decided to raise his voice peacefully by organizing a protest where people were able to voice their concerns using their words non-violently, of course, and he was hunted down by the police officers of that country, and now, with an extremely quick court proceeding, was just sentenced to 8 months in jail for the crime of organizing a protest. A maximum sentence for quote, helping plan an unauthorized demonstration in the capital of Australia. Who does this help when you violate people's human rights ability to even voice their concerns? This only helps dictators and tyrants. In response to this, people, of course, came out to the streets and still decided to protest, only to be met with very repressive measures from the states that fired rubber bullets and pepper sprayed large crowds for even daring to voice their concerns about what the government was doing. There's other videos that are absolutely horrific, showing an individual woman being abused by a group of thugs with uniforms on, calling themselves police officers, attacking her for simply standing on the street. Again, we're not going to show you a lot of these videos, but you know, nothing says doing this for your health and safety like police officers illegally choking you to the point of passing out, all for promoting a health and safety policy by the Australian government.
Assaulting me. The Queensland Police were told and were given a phone call. They did not bother to act us. Resistant, mate. Right.
Hey, his face is turning blue. Can you not, please? You know?
I know.
Can you not?
Or I knocked you out.
Gosh. Okay, good one there.
That's nice, isn't it? Just putting a man in a chokehold and rendering him unconscious.
There was, of course, also other incidences that turned pretty violent, and crowds of people pushing through police lines that tried to stop them from being there. Altogether, 250 people have been arrested for protesting. Many of them face very heavy fines, and their cruel and evil behavior hasn't stopped there, as according to the Sydney Morning Herald, Australian police officers went to a dog rescue kennel and have decided to shoot and end the lives.
She worked in a COVID ward last year. She's a nurse. She caught COVID. She doesn't want the vaccine, and look what they've done to it. She was a hero last year, and now look at this.
Yeah, that's right, Carl. The harshest of lockdown restrictions kicked in from midnight in these 12 local government areas in South, West and Western Sydney. After 830 fresh cases of COVID were recorded in the past 24 hours and sadly 3 deaths. Masks are now mandatory wherever you go. There are simply no excuses. The only time you can be seen without a mask is when you're doing vigorous exercise, and you're only allowed to exercise for 1 hour a day. That curfew is in place between 9 p.m. and 5 a.m, so nobody should be moving around in these areas. A lot of businesses have now been forced to go to click and collect. Nurseries and landscaping supply businesses, which were once allowing people to arrive on site, have now moved to click and collect, including Bunnings.
You see in communist China. This is something you see the Chinese CCP do to the people in Hong Kong when they're shooting rubber pellets into the crowd. After rubber pellets, it goes to live ammunition. This is the escalation, and we don't live in a country like that in Australia. It's just ridiculous, and just to think that the people are still there, like all this is pointless. It's just silly. They should have just let them say whatever they wanted to say disperse and go home.
Person police are on the lookout for is Sydney man Anthony Karim. He is COVID positive and he is refusing to self-isolate. And if you know where he is, the best bet is to call Crime Stoppers. Carl?
Gabby, thank you.
So in other words, you've got to go out and you've got to perform an act of self-harm. Show me one shred of proof that masks will protect you from anything.
Thugs and monsters who are doing whatever the government wants them to do, hurting people in incredible ways, have been promoted and given more money, as now the police commissioner of Australia collects a higher salary than the president of the United States.
Long hours on the road, and now truckies have been banned from sitting at a roadhouse for a meal or even taking a shower on their rest break.
If we don't take care of these drivers, who's going to bring groceries to Woolworths? Who's going to drop off rural supplies? With no trucks, Australia stops.
All of this as their policies are creating an incredible amount of human suffering that is very difficult to even calculate, as of course mental health services in Australia have reached unprecedented levels as people are literally being treated like criminals, only allowed 1 hour out of their house, no further away than a mile. Human contact is absolutely limited. Rescue pets that they were going to have as companions are being exterminated. And this is just the beginning of what the government is capable of doing when it comes to implementing a, quote, health policy.
Police have told service stations they'll be hit with a $5,000 fine and their business would be forced to close if they allow truckies to dine in.
If they can't sit down, have a meal, have a shower, rejuvenate so they can get back on the road again, it's not right at all.
That is having the absolute opposite effect of providing any kind of health. Again, what's happening in Australia is the testing grounds. It is the blueprint of what many powerful billionaire corporate banking elite and their politicians that serve them want to bring.
This Hume Highway servo's been given an exemption. Now roadhouses across the state are seeking the same.
We acknowledge that it's a problem. We are working with regional New South Wales to find a fix.
Police also enforcing regional permits from tomorrow. Workers entering the regions from Sydney required to have one.
The only difference between love and rape is consent.
This is where we bunker down.
Stopping the spread of the virus.
People travelling from hotspot LGAs must be an authorised worker, like those in construction. But for Greater Sydney, there's no list of what's an essential industry or occupation permitted to travel. And you just have to tick a box to say you're a worker and you get the green light. What safety measure is that?
This gives us an ability to follow through on what we said, and that is to protect the regions by understanding the level of movement.
The regional travel permit system is in place from tomorrow. Online applications open at midnight. Sarah Nathan, Prime 7 News.
So, everything they can to mess them up, folks, because they can monitor all of this CB chatter. So if the truckies are planning this shutdown, they don't want truckies getting together in the back room in truck stops and talking about their strategy and what they might do.
We're on a fine line. We are very close. We're closer than you think to actually being like Australia, according to my own personal opinion. And that to me is absolutely horrible and the wrong way to go.